Because for more on the debt ceiling debate, we've assembled a taking stock think tank. Michael Sheldon is the chief market strategist for RDM Financial Group. We also have Heather Boushey, a senior economist for the Center for American Progress, also previously working with the Joint Economic Committee of the U.S. Congress. And we have Alan Viard. He is from the American Enterprise Institute. Alan Viard has worked for the Treasury Department's Office of Tax Analysis, the White House Council of Economic Advisors, and the Joint Committee on Taxation for the U.S. Congress. Good to have you all with us. Michael Sheldon, let me begin by trying to figure out, do you believe that the various participants in the negotiation over the debt ceiling understand the seriousness that not raising the debt ceiling would have for the global financial system?
Well, at this point, the debate in Congress is getting more heated by the day, and it doesn't seem like either the Republicans or the Democrats are willing to come up with a solution. Congress has become increasingly polarized, as has the rest of the country, and that's complicated the ability to come to a solution. If you look at how the markets are responding so far there hasn't been too much worry. If you look at, for example, the VIX Volatility Index, which is a measure of financial stress, or if you look at the VIX or the TED spread, for example, or if you look at oil or copper prices, or if you look at the Transportation Index, which just reached a new all-time high, measuring how people feel about economically sensitive stocks, investors aren't too worried right now, but that could change.
Heather Boushey, come in on the topic of President Obama and his credibility. When he was a senator from Illinois, he cast a vote to not raise the debt ceiling. Is that any indication of his maturing or of his political prowess?
Well, this is one of those issues where anyone who's in the opposition never wants to have to vote for it. So it's always something that's in the best interest of those in power, those in the administration. You have to raise the debt ceiling. Congress has already appropriated those funds, and it's the job of the executive to make sure those checks go out. But it's not something that anybody wants to do. It's really quite a messy process, and it doesn't make a lot of sense. You know, Congress has already decided how much they're going to spend, how much they're going to take in taxes, and this debt ceiling conversation comes after those decisions have already been made, sort of making them vote again to say, yeah, we're gonna go out and use our line of credit for this.
We've got more. Alan Viard, give us a little bit of your perspective on, are they going to reach an agreement? Are they just going to make us wait until midnight, August the 2nd? Is that what this is, a game?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if it does go down to the wire. That's the way a lot of these negotiations sometimes happen. I am confident that they will reach some kind of agreement that will stave off a default. I'm hoping that they come to a more substantive agreement. At this point, I'm not too optimistic about that, but that's certainly the outcome that the country needs and that I hope we get, something that will actually start to tackle the fiscal imbalance on a bipartisan basis.
Peter Cook, has the debate over raising the debt ceiling gotten personal? We keep reading all of these reports about meetings between the president, Eric Cantor, Republican Representative John Boehner, the Speaker. Is this a personal issue now?
Well, personalities clearly matter in these debates. The president tried to take the rhetoric down a little bit. He was asked about it at his press conference about Eric Cantor and the suggestion that they'd had a blow-up, if you will, at one of the last meetings. Again, he tried to ratchet it down. We had even Speaker Boehner yesterday. I was at a news conference where he basically gave a hug to Eric Cantor to show they're still unified on the Republican side. This is a lot of politics, but the substance here matters. As you know, markets are watching. And today, Pimm, I want to give you one development today that is significant. House Republicans today in their closed-door meeting this morning heard from Jay Powell, who served in the Bush administration, the Treasury Department, on the impact of August 2nd, what it would mean if indeed there was no increase in the debt ceiling, what the impact would be. And the question about prioritization, he delivered a summary of what a Bipartisan Policy Center report says, and that is basically how difficult it will be, the difficult choices Congress will have to make if indeed we reach that point. And some of the Republicans left there and said it was, to some extent, an eye-opener for them. Others said, listen, I still believe we are in the right here. We can force this and win at the end of the day.
Michael Sheldon, we've been here before, right? 1995?
Yes, during the Clinton administration, which was actually where the Congress was controlled by the Republicans, the Congress and the president came to an impasse over the budget, and they actually had to shut down the government twice over a period in late December through early 1996. And what happened during that period in terms of economic indicators is the volatility index almost doubled, job growth slowed, and the yield curve widened. And that could be something we're in for now, although the stakes are a bit different now because the economy is much weaker. So there's a lot more riding on what happens.
Heather Boushey, this topic of shutting down the federal government, if indeed we don't get an agreement, do you think that Democrats can spin this to their advantage and blame the Republicans and vice versa?
Well, I think if we don't get to an agreement, there's going to be such an economic mess in front of us that there might be a little bit of a pox on all your houses. I mean, if we don't get to an agreement, you know, right now the federal government is only taking in about 60% of what it spends each month. So we're going to need to cut spending immediately by about 40%. If that were to linger for quite some time, that would be extraordinarily important for economic demand, for jobs, let alone the impact on financial markets and interest rates and the like. So this really, if we don't get there, this is going to be this could be fairly catastrophic for an already very fragile economy right now.
Alan Viard, should we be debating tax policy when you've got the gun of the debt ceiling being held to just about every market participant's head? Is it wise to be doing this now with a deadline looming?
It's not the ideal arrangement. I don't think anybody would say this is how you really want to be addressing this, because we know that we do have to raise the debt ceiling. We know that the consequences of not doing it would be very, very serious. On the other hand, it would be good if the President and Congress could come together and use this as an opportunity to do something that should have been done all along, which is to map out a strategy to address the long-run fiscal imbalance. Yeah, it's not the ideal time to be doing it, but if we can do it now, let's do it.
Peter Cook, we talk about perception and reality in the marketplace. What about perception and reality in politics right now? Is this really just political theater?
It is political theater, but the people on the Hill realize the stakes here. And again, some of them are still waiting for the market reaction. There is a sense up there that maybe it's going to take a repeat of that first TARP vote before some lawmakers, again, come to understand the full consequences here. And no one's saying there, no one's calling for that. But again, the fact that the market hasn't reacted that much has taken the heat off some of the lawmakers right now, allowed them to play more politics with this than they otherwise might have. When that changes, what if we were to see, for example, a downgrade before August 2nd? That's been the threat from some of the rating agencies. That would be a significant change, obviously, not just for the economy, but for the political dynamic as well.
Michael Sheldon, is it really going to take some kind of market crash or some kind of huge increase in interest rates to focus people's attention on something that many economists, smart people, have said this is just silly? Raise the debt ceiling and we'll deal with the deficit afterwards.
I think that's what logical people would think, you and I having this conversation right now. But again, it's such a
But
polarized...
we don't have constituents and we don't have to worry about getting elected.
Right. So I think right now in Congress, it seems like they might be able to agree on about $1.5 trillion in cuts. And that may allow them to then push the spending cuts and the big debate into the election in 2012 and allow the Congress to continue to function. That would probably be the best case scenario under what we're facing now.
All right, I want to thank you all very much. Michael Sheldon, Alan Viard, Heather Boushey, and of course our own Peter Cook will be following this over the weekend.